Oh,
Hey, Renee. Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay,
Great.
perfect.
Beautiful. Let me make sure I have everything else set up. My view. There we go.
All right.
Now I can see you
So,
better.
pardon?
You doesn't matter. My view was weird, so now I said I could see you better.
Okay, good. So, my daughter was sick with the cold all weekend, and she is home today.
Okay.
And as a special gift for Dad, I now have her cold.
I was
So,
gonna say you do sound a little stuffed up. Oh
yeah,
man.
we're both. She's been miserable, and I anticipate the next couple days I will be miserable.
Oh.
But it is what it is, right? So, so I think we are. Yep, we're recording. So what I was hoping we could do, I'll have to be a little more circumspect about discussing some things, obviously with everything. But I was hoping we could just start in with however you normally start for your sessions and all that good stuff, if that
Okay.
works for you.
Yeah. So a couple generally are options for clients that help is either I've done some thinking beforehand and there's a session prep form that some of my clients use. Otherwise, they just use it sort of as a framework to kind of pre-think and send it to me. Otherwise, we can talk it through together. So what I normally do is check in about what's been going well since the last time we talked, what things celebrate and call them wins or celebrations. So we can focus on, what's going good, because we spend, a majority of our time on things that are not
Right.
working well. And so it's important to anchor those and figure out how did they happen also, because we can then mine them for it's of wonderfulness that we want to use toward other things, like what worked about it, why was I able to do that, and all of those different pieces. So that's generally how I start.
Well, I mean, as we spoke about before, there are a lot of things that are not for celebration, but honestly, I think probably the biggest celebration thing is that we're starting these sessions. That after a long period of drift, I'm taking steps now to change that. So that I think is the big one. Now I'm really searching for something else to celebrate. I mean, obviously my daughter is something to celebrate, but as far as things that I'm doing,
it could be even just things that have gone well, or even so if there's something that you generally find and you did it anyway, something that's been on a to-do list for a long time and you took care of it, even just having compassion for yourself while you're sick is a win. Any of those things.
Well, I mean, I did yesterday. I did get some laundry done and folded,
Nice.
which is, I mean, it's a something to celebrate from. I mean, in general, just getting something done, but also with my MS, I've just been feeling so exhausted. But I know from past experience, I know that doing nothing makes me more tired or less likely to do anything. So just the fact that that I got some stuff done, and one other sort of MS/ADD issue. Always, I've been a night owl. I've just always come alive at night when the rest of the world is asleep. So that's just always been I think an ADD thing, but who knows? But that's always been my tendency. I like working early in the morning. I like being up early. I like working early in the morning. Afternoons have always been bad for me. And then, late at night is also a good time for me. Now that's just the way it's always been. There is a well-known, or I assume it's well-known, all of the MS professionals have said, yeah, that's typical, is that afternoon, the drop in fatigue in the afternoon is really a problem. And I find I take my ADD medication also helps with fatigue. If I didn't have ADD, then I would be taking anti-fatigue medication just for MS. One of
Okay.
the biggest issues with MS on a day-to-day basis is fatigue, it's exhaustion. And what I find is that I tend to have as much, if not more energy in the middle of the night without medication than I do in the afternoon on my medication. Which if it were just me, then I would just be a night owl. I would just sleep during the day and work at night and that sort of thing. But with a 4-year-old, that really doesn't work. So
Yeah.
that's a big challenge. But I just happened to be, I put her to bed and then I was awake and I wasn't feeling tired. So instead of doing what I typically do, which is just play on the computer or watch TV, whatever, I said, I'm going to get something done. So I got laundry started. I folded one load and then I was tired. But then yesterday with my daughter, she was watching her shows and I folded some laundry so I could be in the room with her. So yeah, so that's a little thing, but
To
it's a
qualify
thing.
it, it's a thing. It's a thing. Yep.
Yeah.
Great. And especially, like you said, given all the components of that, that with fatigue and with the other, having a sick 4-year-old
Yeah.
and not feeling great yourself, all of those things, can make it even more challenging to just even get started, to activate, to have chosen to do the laundry and then
Right.
get through, a full load folding and then come back to it. All of those things are really important things to, can acknowledge and because when it's the all or nothing of our thinking that gets us in trouble often of, well, I have to do all the dirty laundry from beginning to end right now.
Right.
Sometimes we might need to do that because if we have a window of time,
Right.
we're like, okay, I have a chance to do it and I have no clothes. But usually can break it down and give permission to do small
Right.
portions of it or segments of something. Celebrate the progress that you did make, and then also have a plan to come back to it. And when we tend to overdo stuff, we tend to maybe put off coming back to it longer, because we can, like doing 4 or 5 loads of laundry is a project. It's not a chore anymore.
Well, and also, and this is going to be, I assume it's new for you working the MS component.
Yep.
The-
Yes, I have other clients with lots of other coexisting things, but the first for specific another client with similar, I guess, chronic fatigue is not exactly the same, but
It's
similar
not
to it.
exactly the same thing, but I think there is a lot of crossover there. But
Yeah.
you mentioned, the reason I bring it up is that you mentioned activating, which has always been a challenge for me, for all of us.
Yeah.
But what I used to find in the past is that once I activate, especially if it was the middle of the night, right, I'd get into that flow state and I'd work all the way through and I'd get stuff done. And I just can't do that now. So
Right.
for me, I need, I think, more like micro habits and, activate for 15 minutes at a time, for half an hour at a time, just get little chunks done.
Yeah.
Because, if I were to say I'm going to clean the house, there'd be no way. I might vacuum the living room, but then I'd need to stop and rest. So, and I hope that it won't always be that way. I have one of the big things that I want to work on and that I could use your help with is I have not been taking care of my MS the way that I should. And then that makes it harder to deal with the ADD the way that I should. And that makes it harder to take care of my daughter the way that I should. It all snowballs. But
All right.
yeah, the activating on many, many different fronts in small ways throughout the day, that would be fantastic if we could when we get me to that point.
All right. So, what do you mean by take MS? What would it if you were taking care of your MS?
So I'm not being as active as I need to be. I know that the MS has a neurological component. It's incurable. It's progressive. There isn't, as far as I know, there isn't anything that I can do about that. But there's sort of secondary symptoms of fatigue, of muscle weakness, of poor balance. And I believe that those can be mitigated to some extent through physical therapy, through activity, through diet, through sleep, through all those sorts of things.
Okay.
Basically, I mean, I'm running on fumes all the time. So when those fumes are depleted, there's nothing left. And there have been times that I mean, sure, I get sad. Sometimes I cry sometimes about being sad, but also just from sheer exhaustion, just weeping from sheer exhaustion. There have
Yeah.
been times that I've literally had to crawl from one room to the next because I didn't have the energy or the strength to stand up and stumble, to walk/stumble to the next room. That's extreme. That doesn't happen very often, but it has happened.
Okay.
And there have been a couple of times this past year when, I invited people over, so I had people coming over, so I had to get the place clean. And it was 2 exhausting days of clean and then rest, and then clean and then rest. And I mean, I was wiped, but for a few days afterwards, I felt like I had more energy because I had forced myself to be active. So, I bought an exercise bike because I spend way too much time, watching TV, YouTube, whatever. And I could be doing something, not that I'm going to be, going beast mode or anything, but I could be doing something.
Okay.
And it took me a week or so. The box sat for a month before I even opened it up. And then it took me a week to get it all put together, but it's put together.
Great.
And my daughter likes to get on it, and I have to, supervise that. And she can't obviously reach anything. She sits kind of where, the seat's up here and she sits down here
Yeah.
so she can reach the pedals, but she likes it. So I bought another one, a kind of a smaller one, not a kid one, but a smaller one that's still in the box. But I thought, well, if I get that put together and if I make, tape a towel or something, make a little saddle for her, then we could get on it together while she's watching her shows. That would be something fun for her.
Nice.
And, I don't have a support system. So it's, for the most part, it's me. And I know that that is a problem from an ADD standpoint. I also know it's a problem from an MS standpoint.
Sure.
But if I can be more active, if I can eat better, if I can try to get more sleep one way or the other, I got to figure something out with that.
Mm.
But there are things that I can do that will lessen, that will mitigate the impact the MS has on my life. And I think that also will mitigate the impact that it has on my ADD, which will help me in other ways. So, yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, I've dealt with the ADD, or not dealt with it, my whole life. Now I've got the MS. Now I'm a single parent and I have no support system. So there's a lot of challenges, and it has been a horrible few years.
Yeah.
It really has been, and it's getting worse. And I feel like either I turn things around or I admit that I'm just circling the drain, and I can't do that when I've got a 4-year-old. So got to turn things around, which
Okay.
is why we're here.
Yeah. And, is acknowledging, and I want to just say several things, is important to, of course, acknowledge, and for you to see and really, I guess, I don't know, there's acknowledging the acceptance of all the things, like legitimately all the things that are on your plate, all the things that that are weighing you down, things that you're working through, things that feel like and are obstacles to forward movement in a lot of ways, absolutely legitimate. And at the same time, figuring out where in those spaces to find hope, to find light, to be able to move toward without overwhelming with all of them, right? They're all there. Yes, they're there. But when we think about all of them all the time and are fully conscious of them all the time, we also feel the weight of them and feel anchored and trapped and stuck and or weighted down. So finding some space between, your reality, acknowledging what's real for you, and what can you find hope and energy in, and what do you want to, what small pieces we can focus on, and little chunks that we can take off, just like you were describing ability to, or your the shift now in your energy levels requiring you to work maybe in sprints, and and doing things in small chunks, so that you aren't exerting all of your energy and just emptying the tank every single time you try to take on a task. Because the reality of that too is the cost that has for us and for you now is probably much more significant than it has been in the past. Your rebound time, your ability to recharge and come back from those probably is taking you longer, and or is not getting you to that full level because of all these other factors that are on board right now or in place. So that was one thing I wanted to say. So with the MS, I just want to recap what I heard you say about what taking care of your MS means would be to get regular activity, to I don't know if I wrote this down, but I don't know if you actually, but what I heard in this and put a big box around it is the no support system. You said that a number of times.
Yeah.
And acknowledging what might be different if you could nurture that, and what that might look like, supports in what ways. Because yeah, well, so that I'll just leave it at that. What are your thoughts on that before I ask a different question?
Yeah, I've always been a big believer in community and family and support systems and all of that sort of thing. One of the reasons that I want to do this the way we're doing it, that I want to put it out there, is a couple reasons. One, to help other people who obviously they might not be in my exact situation, but people who could use help with their ADD specifically, but just in general, with making small, consistent changes to turn, even if it's not to turn your life around, just to get on a better path, to put it that way. Okay. And then another thing is, I'm old to have a 4-year-old. I'm 56. So, and with the MS, I expect that I will not be there for my daughter as she's older. And so to have, obviously I hope that this will reach a broader audience, but I'm also very aware that that I have an audience of one for a lot of this, that I want to document my journey so that she can see that when you're struggling, you keep trying things, and you reach out and you ask for help and all of those sorts of things. So there's the audience, but the community that I hope to connect with, it would be great to have more people in my, not real life, that's not a great way to say it, but locally,
physically,
to have more people locally.
Yeah.
But I've been meaning to, like so many of us, I've been meaning to get more involved with the ADA community, because I think it's a great community. When I interviewed you before, when I've interviewed other ADD coaches, ADHD coaches, we all talk about how important it is to have support systems and to know that you're not alone, and sometimes just to normalize some of the things we struggle with. Because if you don't have ADHD people around you, then you get a lot of what I've gotten my whole life. Steve needs more discipline. Steve needs to focus. Steve all of the things that are wrong with me. Right. So I would like to have a larger community that way. There's an MS support. There's a local MS support group. I've attended, I think, 3 meetings, but it's hard because there are people in different stages of MS, and it's hard to see my future staring me in the face sometimes. And the other thing I find with support groups is everybody needs support. And so nobody is providing support. And I'd love to provide support, but also I'm tired enough as it is just dealing with my own stuff. So So I would like to have more people to just bounce ideas off of, or to touch base with, or to have fun with. I like to play games on the computer. I've always enjoyed it. It was never the huge thing, but since my MS, I've been playing this one game in particular, World of Warcraft, which I used to play a lot with an old girlfriend of mine. And I play it way too much, and I would like to be more productive, which means play it less. But it's engaging, it's affordable, it's social, and it's not exhausting. And those
Okay.
are 4 big wins for me, right now.
Yeah.
To be able to hop on and have fun and chat, I'm just typing, but or sometimes we're on voice, to
Mhm.
chat with people and to have a social connection, I think is good and important. But I also think that there are other ways to get that. I remember when I interviewed Eric Tivers, he does these sessions which are basically just, let's all get, at least this is the way I remember it, let's all get together and work on stuff at the same time. And then he was, I think, facilitating it.
Mhm.
But I mean, I wouldn't facilitate it, but it would be great to just have some folks to say, look, from this time to this time, let's get on Zoom. Let's not talk to each other. Let's just
Mhm.
get some stuff done. And if we're having trouble, to just say, I see something shiny, and everybody could say, nope, nope, Steve, you can do this. And that sort of community, but also accountability, right? The
Mhm.
connection of, okay, on Mondays and Thursdays, I know I'm going to get 2 hours worth of work done, an hour on Monday, an hour on Thursday, and that's an anchor maybe
Mhm.
that I can build more productivity around.
So, I mean, just to take the opportunity to share with you what you were talking about the ADA community, that there are several places right now that currently provide that, what you just mentioned. So, so just want to throw it out there for you to check back into and see if you want to engage in that right now to help support you. There's one already in place on Wednesday evenings, which is called the Productivity Power Hour. It's a body doubling working session, just like what you described. And it's on the Pomodoro style. So it's like 25 minutes working, and then you set an intention before you go. Everybody quickly checks in and says, I'm gonna, work on my emails or do my laundry or do whatever. And then everybody mutes their computers and gets to work, and then comes back and says, how'd you do? Okay, what are you gonna work on the next 25? And just give people the opportunity to check in and reset if they need to, or if they're stuck, quickly just get a quick check-in and say, but then, so that's one that's already in place. But then the Tuesday Accountability for You group is one of our support groups that has they have created this whole ecosystem outside of that Tuesday morning meeting, where they do body doubling sessions and they check in and do goal setting and other stuff through Discord threads outside of the meetings on Tuesday mornings. So that's a 9 Pacific group that meets every Tuesday. And then they have this other thing that you have to be a member of that group and attend to then get access to the other pieces of support, which are pretty robust at this point, that they have all created organically underneath that umbrella. So just as and there's other places you can get that too, but I think so finding that that's important, and those you're already paying for. If your membership with that is current, you get all that for free. So once you're joined, and then and those people have found so much support and compassion and community with each other by getting to know each other in these other ways outside of the meetings, and in the meetings too, of course. But there's a structure and a format for those meetings on purpose, to manage the time and the space. But then they have decided they wanted and needed these other components. So things like that can be really helpful. And when somebody else is, especially, well, there's different ways. Each person kind of gets to decide what they, how they work best. If you are a person, especially now, probably something like that, working in small chunks is going to be really powerful for you to manage your energy. And for many of us, if we tend to get either off track on a task or struggle with sustained attention on things or get sidetracked by something else, having those brief check-ins and saying, okay, I'm going to give all my focus to this one thing for this period of time. I get to take a break and celebrate. Or if I'm off track, figure out why and kind of recommit with some compassion and kindness. And then there's other people who have a harder time getting going. So it takes them a while to get activated and get into the swing of things. And so 25 minutes is too short, because then they end up, they're just kind of getting into it and then it's time to stop. So they have chosen other formats or other ways, other sessions where they set up their own sessions where they're more like 45 or 50 minutes and then they check in. But each person, you know, kind of there's different styles and formats that can be really helpful. But for the MS component for support, so that's support around getting tasks done, accountability, that sounds important to you. Are there any things that you feel like you might want to, that feel more like a lower bar, like a small step that you might want to take to move toward that in a way that feels reasonable?
Yeah. So we got a little I got a little far afield. You were asking what I need to manage my MS.
Yep.
And there are two other things, but then I do want to answer that question. One is I give myself daily injections that I have been not as consistent as I should be.
Okay.
Not at all as consistent as I should be. So I want to get on that. And then because the MS has progressed, my physicians were going to move me to a different type of treatment. Instead of daily injections, it was going to be infusions like chemotherapy, but without as many negative side effects. But it would make me immunocompromised. I was about to do that, and then the pandemic hit, and so we haven't done it for over a year. But I've gotten my shots, and things have gotten a little bit more under control. So one huge thing I need to do is call my doctor, make an appointment to go in, get reassessed. I worry because he might want me to get another MRI, and I'm extraordinarily claustrophobic. And I think that has been one reason that I've been putting that off.
Okay.
But it has to be done. So,
okay.
And the last time I got an MRI, they sent me to what's called a large bore machine. So it's not quite as enclosed. And I stayed up all night and I took the medication. I haven't had a drink at 9 o'clock in the morning so that I would just basically fall asleep in the MRI machine, which is not easy to do because they're loud, but that got me through it. So I need to call my doctor. Until my doctor says otherwise, I need to start doing my daily injections. I need to take my fatigue medication every morning. There are some side effects that I'm not thrilled about, but they're manageable. So there are some things I need to do. One other thing about MS is one symptom of MS can be trouble concentrating, which is just what the doctor ordered for somebody with ADD.
Sure.
So that goes in there too.
Okay.
But now to get back to what you were asking, oh man, it would have been impressive. I could have held that in my head, but I lost it.
That's okay. Yeah. No, so I was just curious if you felt like you would be ready or want to make any steps toward moving toward the support around productivity and other accountability.
Yes. Yeah. So now I remember where I was going with that. So I did look into the ADA groups before. Wednesday evenings is a problem because I have my daughter Wednesday evenings.
Okay.
Although again, if it's 25 minutes on and if it's not sustained, if it's checking in, then I can say, all right, I've got my daughter and I'm going to fold laundry and she's going to try not to mess it up as I fold it, whatever, we'll do something like that.
Yeah.
Tuesday mornings are always free. So Tuesday mornings would be great to be part of that group.
Okay.
The other thing you were asking about, little things to get going. And I wanted to say, I'm a big believer in micro habits, at least the concept of it. I haven't executed on it very well, but the idea of, for example, like the exercise bike, even if I don't use it, it's sitting there in the living room. And if I just got in the habit of getting on it every day, right?
Okay.
Just 5 minutes or 1 minute, or just sit my butt on the seat, whatever it might be, I think that would be good. Making the bed every day.
What's important about making the bed every day?
What is important about it?
Yeah.
Well, one, it's self-care. Two, it is a very visible example of self-care, so that my daughter's name is Sarah, so I can stop referring to her as my daughter. So Sarah, when she comes in, she can see that the bed is made, and we can make her bed every day. Also, like right now, I'm in the bedroom. I have two computers. I've been doing the easy part, which is buying stuff and getting it set up, and that's all new and shiny and whatnot. But I used to have, when Sarah was a toddler, she was in the bedroom with me, and then I had an office. I've got a 2-bedroom place. But as she's gotten older, she needs her own room. So we moved my office in here, which is why we've got some stuff behind me, some books and whatnot behind me that I moved out. But it's really just one corner of my bedroom is where my computer desk is, and the other corner is my backdrop there.
Okay.
But that's not, it just isn't ideal. It's my bedroom. I know it's my bedroom. It doesn't feel like a workplace.
Okay.
So what I've done is I've got a good sized kitchen, eat-in kitchen area. So I turned the kitchen table to the side, and then one sort of the short wall, I bought a desk. I got another computer there. I've got a monitor. I've got a camera, but I can't remember what the term is for it. But I mean, it's all set up. I've got lights and everything. I've got it all set up. I just haven't started utilizing it. But the idea is that can be the office, and it can feel like the office. And
Okay.
also, I didn't install any games on that computer, so that's strictly a work instrument.
All right.
And also, it's right there in the kitchen, and I'm hoping that it will also motivate me to keep the kitchen clean, because I want it to be this work area. I want it to be where I get my stuff done. So what I'd like to do, one, I'd like to start doing these sessions in there, but maybe not. This isn't really work, so I'm okay with it here. But yeah, so I've got this office, I've got this work area set up. I just need to start using it. Another thing, and I know I'm all over the place. I'm sorry about that, Renee, but I can use some help, right? I could use some help with housework. I could use some help with errands. My place, it's all one, the living area is all one level. So there are no stairs in the living area. But from the front door to the living area, or the garage to the living area, there are stairs. It's not that big of a deal. I don't go out that much. It's really just twice a day, taking Sarah to daycare and picking her up. But man, getting groceries up those stairs sometimes is a challenge.
Okay.
And I think, 5, 6 hours a week, maybe 10 hours a week even, I could hire an assistant, a personal assistant, to help me with that, help me with some meal prep. I like to do, meal prep in advance. But oh my God, Renee, the amount of food I throw away because I buy it and then I'm tired, and then I'm tired and I'm tired. And then I'm like, damn it, so I throw it. So that would be something if I just hired, whether it could be a college kid, but I'd honestly rather have someone a little more, I don't want to disparage college kids, someone with more life experience and work experience and stuff that I could just, they could pick up the groceries and bring them upstairs. They could help me with meal prep. I don't mind cleaning, but cleaning that involves a lot of movement, like vacuuming or dusting, where I have to be all over and standing the whole time. If it's just, if I can crawl around and pick up Sarah's stuff and whatnot, that's fine. So I think, there's professional assistants, like working with you, or a tax accountant at some point, get the handle on all of that huge mess. But also just to have someone come in, honestly, even if it's just 4 or 5 hours a week, to help with some stuff, and then maybe to spend some time with Sarah, because she doesn't get, I can't play with her as much as I would like to, and she's always, Daddy, are you too tired? Daddy, can you play with me? Daddy, can you? And I want to do it, but I'm just so tired. So maybe somebody to help with some stuff, and then, run around with Sarah a little bit would be nice.
Okay.
And then, yeah. So that's another thing on my list. I have so many things I say on my list, but I don't have a list, and I probably should.
Okay, well, that was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
What might be helpful for you to keep track of some of this stuff? So it's not generally what happens for many of us is just all the things are spinning in our head because they aren't anchored literally on paper, can feel so much heavier. And then we spend a lot of mental energy try not to forget about it or intending to get to it. And sometimes just having it written down,
Right.
There can be this sort of decompression, a little bit of air can release a little bit of the pressure. It doesn't magically make it happen for most of us, but it can just turn down the intensity and the volume and free up the really limited amount of executive functioning energy that most of us don't actually realize we're expending. Right. Trying to hold it all. Okay. So you had systems in the past where you've kept track of things that you wanted to do or intentions or tasks or whatever you want to call them?
So I've had, like I think a lot of us, I've had many systems in place for all that sort of thing. I have a notebook that is, it's over by my nightstand. So I have a notebook that I tend to write things down in, but it's also where I write ideas down. It's where I write funny things that Sarah says or, whatever it might be. So it's not sort of a cohesive thing.
Okay.
Now,
but it is one location, which I want to celebrate because many people have like 5 or 6 of them, and that's a problem of a different sort. But anyway.
Yeah. I've done, in fact, so hanging next to me, I have 3 clipboards.
Okay.
I'm great at like setting up systems, not so great at following them. So one of them I had set up to track my working hours, but I'll do that in the work area. But I also have a to-do list and I have a today list. And the today list is just 3 things to do today. And I made this whole thing up. I'm grateful for, I'm inspired or motivated by, today I will blank despite blank because blank. I was doing this whole thing and I'm like, you know what? All I need is just an index card that I can write 3 things on and stick on a Post-it note or something. So I have a lot of different systems. Probably the thing that I use most often is it's one of those Moleskine little black notebooks. And it occurred to me while we were talking that I could use it the way that I usually use it for ideas and creativity and stuff like that, and then just use the back pages for my to-do list. So everything that I need to do, I write in the back of it, and then all of my ideas and whatnot I write in the front so that things don't get mixed up. Oh, we have a little visitor.
Hello.
Do you want to say hi, baby?
Hi, Sarah. Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
Hello. I'm Renee.
Okay. Let's keep talking, all right? Okay. Okay. Sorry about that.
No worries. No worries.
So if I were to leverage something that I already have, I haven't been using it as much lately. I used to use it all the time. I have a stack of these notebooks.
Wow.
But the past few years, with everything that's been going on, I've really gotten away from using them. I've gotten away from having ideas. I used to do board game design as a hobby. I used to want to do a stand-up, so I used to write little comedy notes and bits and everything.
Wow.
I used to have all of this creative ambition. The problem was always wrangling it, and I tried to do so many different things. I never got anything done.
Okay.
Now I think if we want to take a silver lining approach, the fact that I can't do nearly as much as I previously could have, I think is going to force me to focus on what is manageable today. And there's sort of the life maintenance stuff, and then there's the work, work/creativity component And it's going to just force me to just think in smaller terms,
Mhm.
which if I get smaller stuff done, then that's better than having a dozen huge, big, great ideas.
I think it sounds like that's an important shift for multiple reasons, because one of the things that is so challenging for many of us emotionally and spiritually and all of the things is the disconnect between our expectations and our performance. And then, and many of us have very unrealistic expectations about what we can do, what we should be able to do, what we think other people are capable of doing based on some metric that we've decided out of nowhere usually. So I think that sounds important. And given
You can't be on this.
that's okay, take care. What do you need?
That's okay. No, she likes to balance on the arm of the chair, which pushes me all over the place, which
Oh,
normally is fine, but not right now.
okay.
There, you can't do that right now, baby. Okay? As soon as I'm done, you can't. Okay.
So being able to find a good balance for yourself of, but it's also about prioritizing right now. It is always, but it's even more important, is what I'm hearing right now, is, narrowing the scope, but not in, I think the framing of it is important. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Okay. So being able to, the framing of it for yourself is really important and I didn't hear it in what you said, but I want to just put it out there as a caution, because it might be in the stuff you haven't said out loud, just in case, is, seeing it more as realistic, achievable, as opposed to grieving what you used to be able to do, or what you wanted to be able to do, or believed you were able to do, and how you can't do that now. Right. So that shifting of, there's multiple processes here that you are legitimately and maybe experiencing grief around, which is all realistic and normal. That you've got the grief of what you used to be able to do and can't now, and for, again, lots of really important and real
Sure.
reasons, not because you're not trying hard enough, not because there's some other failures, more primarily because your capacity has changed and the level of other priorities that have become more important, or important's not the right word, but primary, up to the top, kind of bubbling to the surface. Maybe more important, I don't know. But I love that, what you wrote down, what's manageable today, and what you think, and thinking in smaller terms, really in the sense of more reasonable, realistic, manageable.
Sure.
Because as you imagine with the laundry, getting completions for some of our brains is like, it's candy, right? The dopamine hit and serotonin hit of a completion for many of us is magical. So giving ourselves the opportunity to have those more often and really see them as wins, right? Because when we have changed our metrics and we haven't adjusted our celebrations around them, we can continue to feel like we're not measuring up, or it's not enough, or qualifying it.
Well, Rick Webster has referred to me many times as a 90%er. And Rick and I have known each other for a long time, so I don't mind at all. But I do get 90% of a project done, and then I don't. And I for the longest time, for literally months, I slept on half of my bed because the other half of my bed had clothes on it that were clean and folded, just not put away. I would do the laundry, I'd bring the laundry up, sometimes I would just drape the shirts and stuff so that they didn't get too wrinkled. Then I'd fold them later. Other times I'd fold them, but then I'd be just beat. So I would just put them on half of my bed. And then Sarah would come in, it's a mountain for her to climb on. I'm like, baby, don't make daddy fold those again. So just be careful with those. Nothing bad. She thinks I'm talking to her. So that was one of the things that I done
Yeah.
recently. And honestly, she's been really great about having dry nights. So I have her 2 days on, 2 days off, 5 days on, 5 days off. That's the schedule that her mom and I have. So what we started doing is, if she, for the 5 days that I have, the weekends that I have her, if she's dry, then on Sunday night before she goes back, she can fall asleep on my bed, which works out fine because I like to play my game on Sunday nights with some friends, some online friends. So that worked out well, but there was no way to do that without having the full bed available. So that sort of was the impetus, and it didn't take me very long at all. I don't know what the hell well, see, there's the negative thinking. What the hell
All
my
right,
problem
keep
is.
talking, say it out loud.
Yeah,
We can
I don't know what
challenge
the
it.
hell my problem is. But also now I have to have a conversation about, because she hears everything.
Okay.
But what my problem was, to not get it done before. And
Sure.
that is, and we'll be able to talk more freely about that in our next session.
Yeah.
But, not returning to do that last 10%.
Yeah.
And I think for me now, with my situation and doing these smaller tests, I'm still a 90%er, or I should say, I have been doing 90% and not doing the last 10. So I think a great process for us to figure out is how to return to do that last 10%, right? I don't have to do 100%, but I have to return. And that's something that I have tended not to do, but I'd like to develop that habit, because frankly, if I do 60, 70, 80, 90%, and then I take a break and then I return to finish it up, I think that's a perfectly viable method. If it works for me,
Yeah.
I just have to get that return part in. So.
Okay. Yeah. So I think that those are super important. Is that you just literally client before you, we were talking about this very similar thing, which, world, there's multiple factors, and we can plant the seed for you to kind of maybe ponder and notice this week what things might be coming up. If you can look at your tasks also with the idea of being curious about the stopping part. So is there a pattern about stop? What's keeping you from getting to that finish line? And for many of us, it can be for perfectionism, for example. It could be, not having it done well. It's in our way. It could be that we're taking on too big of a, like I said, like with laundry. For me, laundry, and you talking about used to be world, and even so, like clean clothes on the floor, and then ended up walking on them, cat walking on them, or laying on them, and then having to basically rewash my clothes because they sat there for too long, or the washing machine and I forgot them there and didn't get them to the dryer, all these different things, or constantly having to, anyway, it doesn't matter, but the clothes that I was wearing, they'd get wrinkled, and it was in a very forward facing, public position. How I looked mattered. And so I was constantly refluffing my clothes with throwing wet towels in the dryer to get them from being so wrinkled because I'm up, it's this sort of just chain of behaviors that make more work for us really
Right.
in the long run. And so figuring out how to turn down and change my routine. I'm a rule follower, I learned. And that was important for me to embrace in my ADHD as a tool to kind of work with how my brain works in a way that was helpful. And so if I created new rules for myself about how I behaved, and for me, that word, I have taken power back of that word. It used to be a triggering word for me. So now being able to say rules and be the rule follower and own it with compassion and kind of sometimes some humor was really important for me to reframe that word in a way that was really motivating. So knowing that I'm generally a rule follower, I like structure in ways of doing things, but it helps me to follow them and to remind me when I get off track, so that it's easier to come back to. So this is why it's also relevant in this situation. So coming back to something, if I have a real clear process, and even more importantly, deeper why behind the way I do it, am I doing it this way? And why does it work for me? Because we can start to rationalize ourselves out of our own processes, or, talk ourselves out of doing it a certain way because it feels hard right now. And it's like, well, actually, if I do it this way, my world is better. I'm happier. Things function better. This happens if I, whatever. So it allows me to remind myself of why I have it the way I have it. But so that's one piece. So coming up with a process for how you do things, but also maybe narrowing the scope instead of having, for me waiting to do my laundry until I had, multiple loads of laundry, it became a big old project. And so no wonder I dreaded it. No wonder I didn't want to go back to do it or had a hard time getting started. And it was just much harder to be successful. And so I figured out through we can talk more about this, but I just want to plant a seed for thinking about how you move through stuff. And so first of all, it's rules, but the other is redefining done is what I have decided, I have to redefine what done is. And for many of us, when we have lots of incompletions, that can be a really important factor. Look, how do I, you haven't mentioned this, so maybe this isn't a thing for you, but what can happen for me around maintaining spaces, so many of us, actually not just me, but it's like if we find a space gets cluttered, for example, more easily, or we're less likely to put things back in their homes. So have clutter or have other things we're dealing with a lot. So things with dishes, for example, or dealing with paperwork or our desks or anything like that. I used to, realize when I finished working with a client, I would have my notes, I would get up, like finish the call, walk away from my desk, either because I had to go to the bathroom or because something else got my attention, but I was like, okay, done. And then I realized, well, okay, but I still have my client notes on my desk. I haven't updated my coaching log. I haven't looked at my calendar. I still have the papers there. The file's still on my desk. It's not in the shelf that's over there where they live, so those different things I had to say, I'm not done with a coaching session until I have done, these things. And so then that helped me like, oh, that's actually what done means. And so like with laundry, for example, you can shift with what I'm done now. What's done now, for example, is, only doing one load, for example, at a time, so that you can get through the whole process. If that's an obstacle, right? If you're having a hard time finishing, you might need to be changing the target, right? What the end line is, or the scope, or any of these other things. So as you think about stuff this week, I'm just curious if that's helpful, to be curious about what you notice about that 10%. Like, what is it about that feels?
Yeah, I think it will be helpful, because like done is the clothes are put away, not just cleaned and folded. They have to be put away. And that's that last step that I haven't been doing. And yeah, maybe I need to accommodate my MS related fatigue by coming back to it. But this idea of, okay, that's steps, 1, 2, and 3 are complete. Now for the task to be complete, I just need to put them away. That's all I need to do. I recently bought a toy storage thing, like they have at daycares, bins and whatnot for Sarah's toys in the living room. And it's really, we're still not all the way there yet, but it's certainly helping. Having a place for everything, having a visible place for everything. And I think it's going to be the same sort of thing for me, is just defining done clearly, so that I can, not to beat myself up about I didn't finish it, but to remind myself it's not finished until it's in a drawer or hung up or something, like that. That I think that'll be good.
Okay.
Now, I know that you sent out an email that we need to change our time. Do you want to talk about that now, or do you want to do that via email to set up a new time?
Yeah, no, actually probably talking about it might be a little easier and more efficient for both of us.
Okay.
So thank you for remembering that. I forgot to
You're
put
welcome.
that on my notes.
Almost, baby.
All right. Okay, so for the next 2 weeks, that, let's see here, wait a minute. Did we know? My other calendar, my phone calendars, I can't see them all.
Sarah, don't stand on that because that's not what it's for. Do not stand on it. Hey, yeah, oops a daisy doesn't really apply to not listening. Okay, I'm almost done, baby, and then I'll be with you.
All right. So it looks like next Monday is, oh, I know. It was because I have the
You're
it's a
teaching the
once a month
thing.
meeting on the 11th. We didn't have anything on the 11th. So do you want to find another day that week or skip and go to the 18th? I see we have 11 o'clock on the 18th, and those still, the 18th still works. It's just starting the 25th that I would need to either, yeah, no, I guess on the 25th, starting the 25th for the next, until November 15th, it's just for a couple of weeks. I'll be teaching a class during that time. So I would need to move to later that day or a different day.
Later in the day works for me, if
Okay.
it works for you.
Yeah. So let's see here. So looking at the 25th, I could do 1 o'clock. Actually,
That won't be
going
cutting it too
forward,
close
1
for you.
o'clock is perfect, actually.
Okay.
Sorry, what did you say?
I was just wondering if that would be cutting it too close
For what?
with your other thing.
Nope, that's with a cushion. So thank you for checking though.
Okay,
All
so
right.
on the 25th at 1 p.m.
Yep.
Do we want to schedule something on the 11th in the
Yeah.
afternoon?
So it would need to be on the 11th. I am available at 3 or 3:30.
No, 3 is fine.
Okay.
So I have the 11th at 3 p.m., the 18th at 11 a.m., the 25th at 1 p.m.
Okay, so let me double check. So 3 o'clock on the 11th, 1 o'clock on the 18th.
Sorry, 1 o'clock
Oh,
on
sorry,
the
no,
18th?
11 o'clock on the 18th.
Okay.
11 o'clock on the 18th and 1 o'clock on the 25th.
Yep.
Okay, and then it looks like, yes, it would be just those next couple of weeks. Oh, actually, I guess that's more weeks than I thought. So it's the 25th through November 15th. So I guess almost 3.5 weeks, 4 weeks. Okay,
Well,
so starting the 22nd, we could go back to 11 o'clock if that was better for you. But for now, 1 o'clock through November 15th is would work best for me if that still worked for you.
Sure. Yeah. So we'll just continue on Mondays at 1 p.m.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I'll check back with you. And that shifts back, but for now, in case you wanted to or needed to plan that far out, through, yeah, so we would be, okay, I'm sorry, making a note to myself as I say
That's
it out
okay.
loud. November 22nd would be the first week we could go back to 11 o'clock if that's your preference. Okay, great. Just want to check in about briefly what do you have? I know you probably need to get going. Normally I would, kind of do a little bit of a takeaway, and I didn't wrap up a little sooner than today.
We can do that. That's fine.
Okay. So what are you taking away from our conversation today? What felt important?
Well, the first thing that pops into my mind is this idea of circling back to finish things. It makes tasks less daunting from a physical standpoint, from an energy standpoint, knowing that I don't have to do it all in one chunk. As long as I plan to circle back, I can rest and circle back, and then spend time with Sarah or do something else. Mm-hmm. So the circling back is, I think, going to be good. And then also to sort of revive my practice of having my notebook around always and using it, that I'll just start using the back of the notebook for I'll just write anything that I need to get done. I'll write down just as a record, just so that to capture anything that I think needs to get done. I'll write it down. And then my to-do list, I like the idea of not having a big to-do list. So this idea of just having an index card or 3 post-it notes or something like that, that is just, you know, before I go to bed at night, to just write down, even if it's just one thing. Before I go to bed at night, write down on an index card one thing that I'm going to do the next day. And then I know that my to-do list is going to grow, because every day I'm going to think of 10 things to add to the to-do list, but I'm only going to get 1 or 2 or 3 things done. And I'm okay with that. I just know that all I'm doing is I'm just documenting everything I would like to get done in the to-do list.
Okay.
But the list of I'm not going to call it the list. The one thing to do every next day, that I think is important that I actually get that done. So I'll write it down tonight, but I can tell you right now, it's going to be call and make an appointment with my neurologist.
Great. Okay. All right.
I said I was going to write it down tonight, but I need to write it down now or I'll forget it.
Even better. Awesome. And where's that going to live?
It is living, it's on my desk, which is very messy, but it's on the corner of my desk where I keep important stuff. It's right underneath the cradle for my headset.
Okay.
So I'll see it right there, and I will transfer it. That's going to be another thing that I need to do, is clear all this junk off of my desk, because it's a pile.
Okay. And so with the notebook, you said you had it on the nightstand. Is that where it generally is going to continue to live, or does it need to move somewhere else? Or what are your thoughts about that?
Well, I think it'll probably, it used to not be a big deal. Now for me to get up and walk across the room and get it, there'll be plenty of times that I'll say, I'll just scribble it down someplace close. So I think what I'll do is on Sarah's toy shelf, the top shelf closest to the couch is where I've just started without intending to, but that's where I keep my phone and my wallet, my keys. So I'll keep the notebook there as well.
All right.
So that's just where I keep that stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So
when I'm in the living room, and then when I'm in the bedroom, I'll just keep it here I'll keep it here by my desk. I'll just always keep it close by, basically.
Okay, so that can be one of the things, as we didn't talk about this today, but one of the things that can help with the getting things done, or the redefining done, and or making it easier for us to do certain tasks, especially what I think is key for any ADHD, but even more for you, is energy management is critical.
Yeah.
So when you can add actions into your flow of your day, and how you move around your space will be even more important when you think about saving energy. So as you know, I was telling another client earlier today about, she was talking about clutter and dishes and having a really messy space and really unhappy with the messiness of her space. And I said, okay, so one thing that, I ended up having to do, because again, connected to rule following for me, was I would have dishes sitting on the table, or near the coffee table, or at my desk, or other things. And keeping up with my dishes and laundry have been two of my big, and sleep, my big ADHD wins. And the way that I'm able to do that is to create processes. So a rule for myself is, anytime I leave, I get up from the couch, get up from the chair, get up from my desk, any of those places where I may have dishes sitting, my hands are full. I don't ever walk away from that spot. I don't get up without taking something with me. So for you, with that notebook, for example, if it needs to be near you and you need to save your energy, it might need to be part of your process, that it comes with you when you leave the room, like at night. It might need to come back to your desk, or it might need to come with you to sit on the table, or whatever. So it just might need to be built into your flow, or your way of moving around. That might help you remember to do it, have it where you need it, and save energy in the process. So just some thoughts to help support you in streamlining the amount of energy you spend on things. Can be about building it into your process, or your way of moving through your apartment, your home.
I do that to some extent. Anything that has to go downstairs, like laundry, or if I'm taking cardboard boxes to the recycling, whatever, I
Mhm.
honestly I just throw them in that direction,
Mm.
so that if I'm with Sarah or whatever it might be, I take her socks off when we get home from daycare. I just toss them over there.
Mhm.
But that way, when I go, when I'm going downstairs, I can just grab all that stuff up, take it all downstairs in one go, and put it in the laundry or put it out in the recycling, that sort of thing. And I do tend to, like, when I get up, to reach around and grab or tissues or whatever it might be, and take them and throw them away. Although one thing too that's nice is she's at the age now where I can say, "Baby, can you go throw this in the recycling for Daddy?"
Yeah.
So she's very helpful that way.
Well, I was going to say, it's part of, her learning skills like this are all beautiful ways to support you, but also to support her in learning some basic
Right.
skills, right? Of keeping her, tidying things up, processes that she can be part of, taking responsibility of her own stuff, for example, which will also benefit you, but
Yep.
it's also a life skill she needs to learn anyway.
Yeah.
So figuring out, again, having her be part of this process for you, helping take some of the load off of you, is a beautiful gift also to her, to learn some of these things. And she's probably very capable with support and reminders, to do some of this stuff, to take care of her own things, as well as maybe helping you with some tasks
Right.
when she's
Right.
there.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. I will let you get back to her.
Okay.
That's really beautiful. And her hair is really cute too.
Thank
Okay, anyway, sorry. I get distracted by her adorableness and focus on you. Anything that you would need or like support around from me or anyone else in your world between the now and the next time we talk?
Well, today's Monday and tomorrow is Tuesday morning, so I'm gonna get on the ADA website and see what the process is. If it's something I can join, if there's a waiting list, if they need a certain number
There
of
is no
people per
waiting
group.
list. All you need to do is register, go to the support group page that says accountability for you, and just sign up for it. And then you'll get the email with the link and a reminder and all that stuff.
Okay, I will do that. I think that's going to be it. My plan. I've got her with me today, although clearly she is feeling better than she has been this weekend.
Looks like good energy.
Yeah, so today is going to be kind of I've got a couple things. Yes, today is Monday. I've got a couple of things to do on my list and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then frankly, this evening I plan on just taking cold medicine and sleeping.
I was going to say, yeah, the shift is now, she's getting energy back while you might be losing energy.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. We already had
Maybe
that
the
conversation
trade-off.
today about
You're it, right? Like,
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, self-care, resting,
Yes.
taking care of yourself is most important. Let me know if something comes up that you, again, if you want to, what can be helpful is just to celebrate, anchor when you do something. If you want to send me a text message, it's my favorite thing in the day is when I get celebrations for my clients. If it's helpful for you, also please do it. I don't want it to be another chore or another task, but only if it's helpful.
No.
And all right, I will let you get back to that beauty
Okay.
and taking care of yourself. And
Okay.
let me know
Thanks,
if you need
Renee.
anything else.
Will do.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.